So let me start the training once again. I think this is the fourth session we are going through. Still we are learning the basics of Linux systems, Unix or Linux systems. It's very important to understand basics of Linux or Unix or Linux based systems in order to start your career as a DevOps engineer. That is a pretty important stuff. It's a prerequisite. Okay, that is the reason I prefer for particularly beginners who would like to start this training. I prefer that you should have some basics of Unix or Linux knowledge from the terminal point of view. Okay, cool. So let me share my screen. Sorry. So we discussed about actually to begin with how the directory structure of Linux is, Unix systems are, and then we discussed about what is the root directory structure, absolute path, and then the relative path. Then there are some directories in Unix based systems, so you should know that everything in Unix based system is a file. So there are some directories in this Unix based systems, so you should know this, all these systems, all these directories. It's very important. This we discussed about all these directories, and the next thing we started with creating users. Okay, creating users is also very important thing. We should know how to create a user in Unix based systems. How to create a user, you have two commands, user add or add user, and then how to set up a password for the user, and how to see the list of users from the system, how to log in or how to access something with a separate user, su command, creating a group and adding a group, the checklist of all the groups for that particular user you are in, you log in, delete the group, and amend the group with a proper user ID. That means a user belongs to that particular group and all. Access controls is something which is very important in particularly in Unix based systems. Actually it is important in not only in Unix based systems, it is very important in all systems, even in Windows. But the kind of priority that we give to Unix systems, particularly from the access point of view, user access, group access, are entirely different. It's entirely different, and then we give highest priority to this access because Unix is a multi-user system, right? That means you can create one virtual machine, and at the same time you can create any number of users, and then you can give access to all the users to access one virtual machine. That is something you can do with the Unix based systems. Right. So user is identified with a UID, user as well as UID. At the same time, group is identified with a group GID or group ID. That also I think we had gone through. Right. Now today's session, what we are going to see is, first once again we will look into the permissions because that is very important, and then I would like to explain once again permissions in Unix based systems, and then we will also discuss about basic commands that you have to learn, you have to use in Unix based Unix or Linux based systems. Okay, So permissions, as I said earlier, there are three types of permissions: read denoted by small r, write denoted by small w, and execute denoted by small x. So here I want to ask you a question: which files can have execute permission? What type of files can have should have execute permission in order to execute? I'm asking you a question: what kind of files should have execute permission in order to execute?
Scripts.
Right. So files which are binaries, as you said, yes, scripts also. That the files that are designed to execute in the system should have execute permission if you want to execute. So there we have three kinds of permissions: read, write, and execute. These permissions are, we already knew that these permissions are for user. If a file is there, you can give the permission to the user. You can give a permission to a group, and also you can give a permission to all users. Right, we understand that we can give a permission to a user, we can give a permission to a group, and then we can give permission to all users. Right, I think we already did that, but we will see once again. So there are three kinds of permissions: read, write, and execute. And then there are users, groups, and all other resources. Okay, all other others, generally we call it as others. So this is what we discussed. And if there is any dash, if the read access is there, r would come, write access is there, w comes, and x means execute access. If there is no access to a specific user, group, or others, then a dash would be given. Okay, and there is also a special character called d denotes for a directory. Okay, there is also other than r, w, x, and dash, these are only for permissions. To identify whether a file or something is a directory or a file, there is a special notation which is called d. There is a special notation called d stands for directory. Okay, this is the typical format of the file permissions file notation, typical format. Okay, that means r, w, x, that means a user can have read, write, and execute access, a group can have read, write, and execute access, and others also can have read, write, and execute access. This means if any file has got all these things, that means anyone can go and access the file. Okay, we call it as the where the first triplet talks is for the owner of the file, that means the user. The second triplet represents the permissions for the group, and the third triplet represents the permissions for others. And there is also one character if it is a directory. There is, you can see here, there is a hyphen is there, the hyphen here, if you look at here, ll hyphen is there. This hyphen tells about it's not a directory. If there is it's a directory, then the it would be like a d. It's a file because there is no d. Okay, fine. Let's go and then just have a look at a file and permissions. I go to my terminal. I hope all of you are having your systems. ls means list of the files. L, so just I am in my home directory. I hope pwd present working directory. I am in my home Jiten. I am the user called Jiten, so I am in my home directory Jiten. You could see that this particular file, CA certificates, if you really look at it, this CA certificates file has, it's a file, it has a read, write, and execute for the owner, read, write, and execute for the group, and read, write, and execute even for the other user. It's very vulnerable actually. Okay, it's vulnerable because I think in the last session we only changed this. Okay, this is vulnerable. You are giving access to your entire home directory usually, and this is not supposed to be like that. Okay, right. So these are the permissions that all the directories and then files has got in this particular system. Fine. Then I go back to once again the presentation. There is something called uh, numeric value. You can also give whenever you are giving permissions. There is a special command called chmod. We will discuss about chmod. Chmod command is used to give permissions by giving numbers. Okay, if you want to give read permission, it should be 4. If you want to give write permission, it should be 2, and then if you want to give execute permission, it should be 1. So 4, 2 and 1. For example, for a user, you want to give read, write and execute permission. That means read is 4 plus write is 2 and the execute is 1. 4 plus 2 is 6 and then 1 is 7, then it came as 7. And for the group, I just want to give only read and write permission. That means 4 and plus 2, which is 6. And for others, the last triplet, I want to give only the read permission. I don't want others to write or execute this particular my file. Then I would like to give only read permission for others. Then it is 4. So the whole thing is for 3 triplets, owner or user, group and others, it is 7, 6 and 4. You know that what this 7, 6 and 4 stands for? 7 means the user or the owner has got all permissions, read, write and execute. 6 means the group has got only read and write permission, and 4 means the others has got only read permission. What if I want to give all permissions, read, write and execute permission for all? That means users, groups and then others. How can I give? What number should I give?
777.
777 talks about all permissions for users, all permissions for groups and then all permissions for the others. What if I want to give only that's fine. I think that is enough. I want to give only group, I want to give permissions, then I want to give only read and execute permission for the group, and then no read and write. Then we should give only 7 1, but it doesn't work out, I think, just with a group permission, right? So there is a command called chmod. So here, if you go to this particular thing, what you have to do is, let's say that I have k3s.sh file. We already have worked on this. k3s.sh file has got all permissions. What I do is chmod is the command. I would like to give all permissions to the user. I would like to give only read and execute permission, read and write permission, read and execute permission for the group. Read is 4 and then execute is 5, and then I don't want to give any permission to the user. We are here. You can see that there are 3 triplets. The first triplet has got about the owner, read, write and execute. The second triplet has got the group, read and execute, and the third triplet, others are not supposed to do anything with this particular file. Others are not supposed to do anything with this file. Okay, so looking at this particular thing, you should also tell me that who is the owner of the file, and then who is the group, what group that this particular file belongs to. Who is the owner and then what is the group?
Jiten is the owner.
Jiten is the owner for this file, and then there is also a group. There is no special group, and then the group belongs to Jiten only. Okay. Jiten is the owner and then Jiten is the group.
Okay.
Okay. 1 minute. So Jiten is the owner and then Jiten is the group. Cool. Now what I would like to do is, there is another command which is called chown. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. We can see in the presentation. So I think before going to do that, we can go through a couple of all the commands, and then we can also see that. Otherwise we can also execute the chown command and see how to change the owner of a file. That's what we will do first. Okay, I would like to change the owner of a file. I would like to change the owner of a file. Chown. Okay, let's say that I want to see what our users are there. Cat slash etc password. This file is, let me see what all users are there in the system. Some of the normal users are some of the account users, some of the users for the services, some of the users are created only for an application. Let's say that etcd is for an application, console is for application, nomad is for application, etc. But here we know that there is a user called demo. We have created that user called demo. We give this particular user called demo to this particular file. Ch own, that means changing. Ch means change the owner of a file. Who is the owner of the file? The owner of the file right now is Jiten, ch own. Then I would like to change the owner of a file. Ch own, the user I would like to give as a demo. If you want, you can also give the group like this, user and group. If you don't want, you don't need to give anything. That is the notation. Let's say that the group is also I give as demo, and the name of the file is k3s.sh. That means usually this command should be executed with sudo. Okay, this is what I would like to do. Change the owner uh, of this k3s.sh file from Jiten to operation is not permitted, so we should give sudo. Sudo is sudo command. You see that now this file, the owner of this file is demo, and the owner of the group is also demo. And only if I want to execute this particular file, for example from this particular user, if I want to execute this file from this particular user, I cannot execute this. I cannot execute, permission denied, because only demo user can be able to execute that particular file. But what I can do is, if I want to go to that particular demo user, what I can do, su demo. Now I am with the demo user. Now I cannot access all these files. The problem is I cannot access these files because Jiten directory do not have access to all these files. Jiten directory cannot have access to all these files. What I do is sudo copy command. So I cannot give access to this particular file. What I do, I go here, I go ll. So this directory, if you see this Jiten directory, only Jiten user can access this particular directory. Only Jiten user can access this particular directory. Other users group can execute but cannot access. Okay, the group, but owner is only Jiten, but I do not belong to the group what Jiten belongs to. I have not added this particular user to the group. So we can also try to change add a user to the group. Let's see, there is a command to change the user, to add a user to a group. Okay, how can I add a user to that particular group? So sudo user mod ag of this particular demo. So what I do is I go back to Jiten user, okay, and then sudo usermod, okay, ag Jiten group to demo. So I'm trying to add demo as the Jiten group. Let me go back to su demo. You see that now I am able to go into this particular directory. You see that why I am able to go into this particular directory. Here there are two things. Why I am able to go into this particular directory, there are two things. I tell you two things. What I did first was I went and checked what are the rules that this particular Jiten user has got, this directory. First one is it has got read, write and execute access for everybody. It's a directory. D stands for directory. Read, write and access execute for the owner. The owner is Jiten. And then read and execute access for the group. What group? Jiten group. So what I did was I went and executed a command. This command, when I was in Jiten group, what I did is I added demo user to Jiten's group. That means demo user is also part of Jiten's group now. Demo user is also part of Jiten's group. Okay, Jiten is also a group, not only user. You know that when you create a user, a group is also created automatically. We observed that. Now demo user is added to Jiten group. So since Jiten group has got read and execute permissions, so the demo user as well. So I then change it to the demo user, and then I can go to Jiten directory right now. The reason is pretty simple. Because demo user is also part of Jiten group. Now I would like to execute k3s .sh. Whatever is there inside the file, what it is, that's fine. But it is just k3s.sh file. If I just click on execute, it can execute. Is executing. It's doing something else. It is executing. The reason is the k3s.sh file is a demo user and demo group. We are already inside demo group, so you can go and execute this particular file because the owner of k3s.sh is demo. Okay, you can do all these things with the users and groups. You can create a owner, and then you can create a group, and you can change the owner. You can add another group to owner, and you do all the things. You do all the things with the demo user as well. You can do all these things with the demo user because we have done that with the demo user. First we make the k3s.sh file as the demo user is the owner of k3s.sh file. First thing. Okay, let's say that I would like to write a very simple shell script. Okay, I want to write a shell script with a simple echo command. Okay, so how do you write a shell script with a simple echo command? I go here, I create vim hello.sh. okay, we will discuss about vim. Then I have to write something, so I need to put it as I, that means insert mode. So we will discuss about shell script a little later, but right now cannot open file for writing. It's not letting me to write. What I do is I quit this file because I do not have write access. Remember that I do not have write access for this file. So what I do here, I go to my demo directory where I am the owner. There is no file at all. I create hello.sh because this directory I am the owner. Then what I can do is you have to write a shell script. First thing is you need to tell that which bash shell you are going to use. We will discuss about this, nothing to worry. I am trying to start with very beginning. So this is called a shell script. As I said earlier, we will discuss about shell script little later. Now I have created a file called hello.sh with a user called demo inside the directory called demo. Now you see that by default demo user has only read and write access. So if you want to execute a shell script, how can you execute? You have to put dot slash the name of the shell script hello dot sh. You cannot execute that because there are no permissions. Why there are no permissions? Why I am unable to execute this particular file? Am I audible?
Because we have just given read and write
Yes, we
access.
have not given by default it has taken only read and write. So now we need to give read and write, not only read and write but also execute permissions to that particular file. What is the number right now with that file? Read and write how
4,
much? 6, and
6.
then read and write 6, and then read is 4. This is the current numeric value, that permission number, if at all you are talking about permissions. Okay, this is the numeric value with the permission number. In fact, we can also give with the other notation as well. We will see later on. So now I want to change to execute permission chmod 7, owner should have all the access, and then 6, group has only read access, and then 4, the other should have only read and execute access. I give only 4, 2 plus 2, 4, or 5. Group has got read and execute access, and others should have only read access, that is for 4, 754. And the name of the file is hello.sh. So when you ls-l you see, then it has got execute permission as well. The execute permission is there for the owner as well as for the group. Okay, this is the third octal, this is the second octal, and then this is the first octal. And what about this, the hyphen, first hyphen? The first hyphen talks about the directory. For example,
Yeah, then
mkdir demo. Okay, move hello dot demo directory. You see that the demo is directory, so D came, there is D appeared here. Okay, that is how the first letter is given for D. I'm not very sure for Unix systems because it's been long time. I don't remember whether Unix systems also use the same notation, but particularly Linux systems use this directory notation. I'm sorry for that. I don't want to give wrong information. If I don't know, that's why I'm not giving any proper information. But Unix systems, I'm not very sure. I don't remember. It's been long time, but these are same for even for the Unix systems. The first letter I doubt. However, yeah. Now I can execute the file. It is in the directory called demo. How can I execute the file? hello.sh. So hello.sh file, nothing it does apart from printing a simple script and then printing something called hello world. That's what we asked to do, and that's what it has done. That's what it has done, right? And one more thing you need to understand about Unix and Linux systems, the extension doesn't matter. Extension doesn't matter. Even we give sh explicitly to show that it is a shell script, but if you really look at it, I changed it from sh to hello. You see this. The name of the file is hello. Now it is not hello.sh. So if someone asks you, can you please go and run a shell script? So you shouldn't be surprised that you don't find any file with sh extension. It is not mandatory to have a extension in uh, Unix or Linux files. Okay, it's not mandatory. Unlike Windows heavily use extensions. Windows internally use extensions a lot, but Linux or Unix based systems, it doesn't matter whether you keep the extension or if you don't keep the extension. I purposely remove the extension so that you can understand that still I am able to execute that particular simple script and then hello world. If you move the file or if you rename the file, still whatever the permissions the file has got, still the file should have has got only those permissions. Even if you move the file or if you don't move the file, the permissions that a file has, only those permissions will be there. Okay. So to summarize the whole concept, number one, you should know that what is called a user. Number two, you should know that what is called a group. That's two things, user and group. How to create a user and then how to create a group, right? How to assign a group to the user. Okay, how to assign a group to the user, how to add a group to the user, that's what, which we call it as amending, right? And then we have something called octals or triplets or octals we have, that is also you should know how to okay, you should know how to use those octals. Okay, that is something you should know that. uh, and after that you should know what is the number that we use for read, what is the number that we use for write, what is the number that we use for execute, how to change the owner of a file or a directory from one owner to the other owner, that is also very very important. Some commands we require sudo access, you should also know how to use or how to give the sudo access. That's what about whatever we have discussed so far.